and bringing certain laws in, and then the people just say, well, it's the law, we've got to obey it, then we might as well just get the handcuffs out now and just go quietly, because there's no way that we're going to have any effect on this gathering Orwellian state if we're not going to resist the imposition of it.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
That's right, and in a way I see that this also is connected with the fact that what you brought up in the beginning here, with the additives and all of this, the attention span is actually, it's narrowing down, so to speak, and people can't even remember. And what you're talking about here is seeing the big picture, and that is what people is having difficulty with.
Well, this new book is the big picture. I mean, it's first of all, it's the biggest work I've ever done, and probably the biggest work I will ever do. But it's connecting these dots. I mean, for instance, the human body is in effect a highly advanced computer, and it's a biological computer, i.e., it has the ability to make decisions and assess information without actually being told how to do it. And it's a vehicle for consciousness to express itself in this reality, this tiny frequency range or holographic television channel that we call the physical world, that we think we experience every day. And if you can isolate body consciousness from higher consciousness, then you entrap people in a tiny fraction of their infinite self. And once you trap people in body consciousness, they, instead of getting their point of observation from the great infinite consciousness that we are, it looks through the eyes and hears through the ears. That's where it gets its information from to get a fix on itself in the world. Mm. And who controls that? The very network of bloodline families that I've been writing about for nearly 20 years control the information that people receive. They control what people are taught in schools and colleges and universities. They control overwhelmingly what is bravely passed off as news and current affairs. They control the information that the overwhelming majority of people receive through the mainstream media. And if you do not have the filter mechanism for that, of being open to a much greater vastness of consciousness, so that you can see through that, then you can become mesmerized by it, and you become enslaved in the five senses. And the vast majority of people on this planet, I would suggest, are in that state. They're in a state of fractional awareness compared with the infinite awareness that they really are. They're like rabbits caught in the headlights of an oncoming car. And when we talk about people waking up, and the number of people I've met over the last 20 years or so have said to me, my goodness me, I've woken up, I can see it now, why couldn't I see it before? Well, literally, waking up is the phrase, because the human race is in a hypnotic trance, and it's been put there by constant repetition of information, or what passes for it, that is telling us what reality is. And most people have bought that, and why shouldn't they? That's all they hear most of the time from cradle to grave. And so they have become like a stooge on the stage in a hypnotist show. A hypnotist can implant a belief into the mind and subconscious mind of the stooge, so that they'll eat a potato but taste an apple, where they'll see the woman next to them on the stage naked when they're fully clothed, who will see an elephant in the audience, and because the implantation of belief transfers itself to apparent experience. What we perceive, we believe, and what we believe, we experience. And this is happening all the time. The greatest hypnotist in the world is the oblong box in the corner of the room, which is 24 hours a day now, pouring out implanted messages telling us what reality is, what's possible and impossible, what's good and bad, what's moral and immoral, what to be frightened of all the time. Hey, I've got something else for you to be frightened of. Watch this program. And isn't it funny? Television programs, and that's what they are overwhelmingly. They are programs, mind programs, that are implanting a false reality. And so when people say they've woken up, and my goodness me, I can see it now, they've woken up from that trance, or begun to. And that's why suddenly they can see things and perceive things and understand things that they simply couldn't see before. It's because they've moved their point of observation from just five-sense reality to a much bigger, wider point of observation, higher in their realms of consciousness.
That's right. You know, and what I guess I see a little bit on the horizon, and this connects with what you mentioned before here with the microchip and so forth, is basically, you know, the concept of the new man, basically, and probably where potentially the human species is going to split into two different directions, it seems like. What I've been looking at basically in the last year or so, and research, is what is happening to the human race. The next step, you know, in evolution, or whatever we want to call it, the introduction of the Borg, the joining with the machine, or even going into the Matrix and actually hooking up, you know, with a worldwide mind. This literally means implanting an interface with microprocessors at your brainstem, or optic cable in nano size that is connected to the nerves in your brain, wireless connection to this global brain. And this will probably create or spawn some kind of overclass, or, you know, Übermensch, if you want to, you know, have that terminology on it. And since you've been talking about the microchip, you know, I see that this is a big part of the picture here, but also see that this is you know, there's so many more components coming in now in regards to technology about this, and basically a nightmare scenario is beginning to open up here. Any thoughts on this? Well,
the reason that they're talking about having a computer-human interface, as they call it, where the computer is connected to the physical body, is very simple. The physical body is also a computer. That's how they can do it. The two are compatible. One is infinitely more advanced. Of course it is. But it's still the basic same principle, and that's why they can interface the two. And the microchip is the jewel in the crown of this whole conspiracy, because they are not encouraging the idea, because they don't want people to think about the real reason of microchips at all. But they're not so disappointed if people are talking about the fact that microchipping is just for electronic tagging, so the computer knows where everyone is. And on one level, that's a byproduct of it, yes. But the real reason for the microchip is it hijacks the thought and emotional processes of the body. You know, when we feel emotion or we have thoughts, it is an electrochemical process.
Yeah.
That's what happens. And if you can access that network, that electrical chemical network, then you can start to dictate thought and emotion. I mean, you know, you get stories like we had a few years ago where a lady was in clinical depression for 40 years. And she was in and out of institutions, and she had a terrible life for 40 years. Until someone said to her, can you think of anything that happened around the time you went into this depression? Because it happened very quickly. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, the only thing I could think of is I had, I think it was 19 teeth fillings. And, of course, the teeth fillings were with mercury.
Yeah.
And she was advised to have the fillings removed and to go on a mercury detox. When she did that, the depression of 40 years, which was so deep that she was in institutions, like I say, disappeared. Now, that is what a chemical, metal chemical, can do to someone's emotions. Imagine when you have a microchip inside, which is designed specifically to manipulate these electrical chemical processes that we call thought and emotion. And that's the idea. The brain brain is like the central processing unit of the computer, and the CPU, as they call it in computer technology, is a microchip. And so this is what the microchip's really there for. And a CIA scientist who was talking to me because he was trying to get information out of what was going on back in about 97, he told me about the microchip, and he said it's not just for electronic tagging. He said it's not the messages going from the chip to the computer that are the most important. It's the messages coming from the computer to the chip, because he said they can isolate an individual or a group of people en masse and manipulate their mental and emotional states because they're manipulating the computer. And the way to overcome all this is to become conscious, because most people are not actually conscious. I mean, they have a conscious mind, but that's the computer level of reality, the five sense level of reality. Their deeper consciousness they're disconnected from. And we need to open our minds and start to connect with these other realms. And what prevents us doing that is belief systems, overwhelmingly. Religious belief systems, political belief systems, status belief systems. And when we have a blank sheet of paper and we let all that go, and we look with an open mind at things again, without letting belief systems filter and edit the information, to defend the belief, then we can start then to see the world from a much higher point of perspective, and overcome some of these things that are going on now, because the manipulation is the manipulation of human perception. It manifests itself as banking scams and political scams and centralization of power, but the real bottom line of this whole conspiracy, this whole creation of the Orwellian global state is the manipulation of human perception. And if you know that what we perceive and believe we will experience, just for instance, on a simple level, if you believe and perceive that you are powerless, you will live a powerless life, not because you are, but because you believe you are, and then you therefore manifest that reality. You can see in simple things like a football game. You've got a team playing another team, and one team is all over the other. The other team can't string any passes together. They're having a terrible time. Their belief is that the other team's better, and the other team score, and the other team score again, and it's underpinning this belief system. Oh my goodness me, this is we're bound to lose this. And then the team losing just gets a kind of a goal out of nothing. And suddenly, just because they've put a bag of wind in a net, they start then to transform the way they play. They are now attacking the other team. Now suddenly they're getting passes together. Why? Because they've suddenly become better footballers in 30 seconds? No, because their mind has changed, their perception and belief has changed, and therefore their experience changes as a result of that. Now, when you take that onto the level of mass manipulation, if you know how this process works, because that's the knowledge that's been passed across the generations at the highest levels of the secret society network to these bloodline successors through the years. If you know how that works, but you have structured society to stop the people in general knowing how that works, then you can control people's reality and therefore people's behavior.
That's right. Without
them having any clue whatsoever that you're doing that. Because they're perceiving life as random, as a matter of good luck and bad luck. While you know, in the shadows, that you are implanting a belief in reality into the people through all the mass media and what we call education. And once implanting that belief, the person's belief will manifest the experience based on that belief. That's how the people are kept in servitude. That's how people are kept in enslavement, through manipulating and implanting